longer than you've been alive, so that's where that comes from. But great to see you all. I can see some familiar faces in the crowd, also some new ones. Really nice getting to meet some of you last night and today, but looking forward to getting to know you all over the next couple of days. By way of introduction, as Carl said, I'm Eve. I'm one of the CSMs at ObservePoint, and you have got me for the next 45 minutes. So to start off today, I'm going to split this session into audits and journeys, but the main objectives that I want to cover with you guys are understanding the why behind audits and journeys, but also a bit of the how-to. Also, I'd like you to leave inspired to set up some basic audits and journeys of your own, and then hopefully you guys can leave here with a better foundation of ObservePoint to help make your other upcoming sessions a bit more beneficial and meaningful to you. So, I am going to begin with the mighty web page. I'm going to open up, also bear with me, it's quite hard to control the mouse on here from this one, so if I am a little bit slow. There we go. I'm going to go onto our homepage. Now, as I load this page, this is our homepage, a really important one for us. There are a few things that we would expect to happen as we open this up as the page loads. If this was your homepage, what are some of the things that you would want to happen as this page is coming up? What was that? Cookie banner, yeah, that's one, cookie banner. What else would you want to make sure is here?
martech.
Yeah, all your martech. You want to make sure that if you were to go into the dev tools, you've got your analytics coming through, your data layer coming through, all other tracking. Anything else?
It loads quickly.
Exactly. You want it to load at a decent speed. You want to make sure it's loading at all. You want to make sure it's not a 404 page. Some other things might be, if it's a landing page, making sure you're not losing query parameters as you get to it after any redirects. You want to make sure, you mentioned the CMP banner before. Maybe if someone's interacted with it in a certain way, that might alter what you would expect to come through in terms of your tags and cookies. So if a user has declined consent, what tags and cookies do you have coming through? And a few other things, so like I say, page load, I think you've got a lot of them here, but that took a minute. Trying to come up with all the things you would want to happen. If you were testing this manually, that's going to take some time. So if you've got one web page to test and you're not doing it that often, it is possible to do it manually, but it's not that realistic. Chances are you're going to be having a lot of pages that you want to test on a regular basis across your website. And that's where ObservePoint audits come in. So let's start with what is an audit. ObservePoint audits enable you to automatically scan your website at scale to ensure your analytics and data collection technologies are installed and working correctly. You tell ObservePoint where to start the crawl and how many pages you want it to go to. So you say, start at this particular URL, here's a limit of how many pages I want you to find, and keep crawling out, finding the links that you can and getting to all those web pages until that limit. Or you can be really explicit with what you say, and you can say, I'm only interested in a certain amount of pages that I really care about, and you can give those to ObservePoint too and be really prescriptive about what you're checking. With audits, they are capturing page load data. So all those things we just spoke about when we were looking at the mighty web page. With an audit, it's going to tell you all the tags, all the cookies, performance metrics, and various bits of data that have been collected. It's also going to help you test for consent preferences and more. And a really great part of it is alerts. So this is where ObservePoint's going to let you know if something is not as you would expect it to be. So why use ObservePoint audits? Firstly, we want to automate your QA at scale for your entire site. We want to help mitigate risk of privacy violations, And the really good one is receiving notifications when something is not as you would expect it to be. So let's take a look at some audit use cases. Now, one thing to point out here, these are things that we do well. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much ObservePoint can do, and if there's ever anything that you want to find out about your website and you're not sure that we cover it, come and ask us, see if it's possible, or if maybe we need to do something custom to help you. But let's take a look at some of the ones we've got up here. I've split them into 3 main categories. We've got privacy, tag governance, and some experience or miscellaneous on the right-hand side here. Starting with the privacy side, we've got page load cookie governance, privacy compliance testing, so that one I mentioned before, depending on how a user is going to interact with that banner, what's actually coming through. If you've rejected consent, what cookies are coming through? Is it your strictly necessary ones? Are there any outside of that shouldn't be there that you want to be made aware of? We've got some cookie security monitoring, so same site secure, HTTP only. And also, finding cookie initiators. No other company can show you how cookies are set on your pages. This is patent pending technology that ObservePoint has, and something that's really great you can find in our platform. Moving on to the tag governance section, we've got validation for all kinds of tags, so your analytics, your bit of mood lighting, your analytics, your tag management system, your data layer, social media, etc. It can help you identify unauthorized tags. It can also do some testing of your tag management system, so if you're making changes before you're publishing, you want to do testing. It might be on your staging environment that you're testing, or you might want to test out your dev tags, but on a live environment, because if this is done in the audit, visitors to your site are not going to be affected. One I quite like here at the bottom, the hard-coded audit. So this is where we say, let's block your tag management system and let's see what's coming through outside of that. The reason you might want to test this is probably from a control aspect. So you want to make sure that no one's putting random tags on any page that you don't know about. Ideally, you probably want 90% of your tags in a centralized place like a tag management system, but you want to find out if anything's been put there that you don't know about. Moving on to the right-hand side, we've got page performance, so core web vitals. Better web vitals are going to lead to happier users. Better placement in Google search results, and better ad prices. So this is one that's worth keeping an eye on. We've also got accessibility compliance. So we offer automated web content, automated WCAG, also known as Web Content and Accessibility Guidelines, testing to help improve your website's accessibility. I'll show you this when I do my demo, but this is something that we've added recently, and it's really useful to see any areas on your website where you might have issues to do with accessibility. It's going to show you where exactly those issues are, and it's also going to show you a solution for how to fix those issues. We've also got SEO testing. So a few things that this is compromised of. For instance, you might want to check your broken pages and links, your web vitals and accessibility, as we've got above, which all fall into this area. Or you might want to use a custom tag. So this is something that we have that, again, I'm going to mention when I go through the setup of an audit, but essentially something we can do to access information that may not usually be accessed so easily. Keyword searching is actually a great example of this. So we can use ObservePoint to say, find me a word across all my pages. We've had a customer recently use this. They had one of their subsidiaries change names, and they wanted to make sure that they got rid of the old name across all their web pages. So they were able to use this to see anywhere on their website that had the old name, and then they could remove it and update it to the relevant one. This last one on here, landing page validation for paid ads and for email. This is a great time of year to mention this one, given that November to December are the busiest time of year for a third of our customers. More is spent on digital advertising in the next couple of months than the whole year combined with the upcoming Black Friday sales and Christmas. So just to talk to you a couple of things about these ones. Landing page validation for paid ads. This is where you would go into your advertising platform, get a list of the landing pages, and perform a whole host of checks on them. So if a user has a bad experience on your website, it's never a great thing. But if they have a bad experience on one of these pages that you're paying for the privilege to that user having a bad experience. So some of the checks that you might want to do, you want to check if these pages are broken. Are they going straight to a 404 error? Are there broken links? Is the page taking an obscenely long time to load? Are you losing any query parameters after redirects? And frankly, testing for key analytics and just checking the correct marketing attributions. All things that can be done with a simple audit for landing page validation for paid ads. And then finally, the email one, super easy to use. Before you send an email out to thousands of customers, you want to make sure that any of those links in that email, you want to make sure they're working correctly. So all you need to do with ObservePoint is you can create an inbox and you can say, let's send this email to an ObservePoint inbox before we send it to all these customers, and do the same checks I mentioned before. So are we losing query parameters? Are the pages working? Etc., etc. So I just wanted to highlight those ones given the time of year we're at with all the sales and Christmas coming up. Really, really useful. So let's come over here and lost my mouse. Okay, so audits, where to start? So as you've seen, I've just shared, there's a lot that you can do with ObservePoint audits. But here are a few things I have to recommend if you're just starting out or that I think you should really have in your account as a bare minimum. So I would say there are 3 audits you should have in your account at a bare minimum. Also, I realise my mic's kind of on and off. Can people hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. So where to start? First one I'm going to say is shouldn't mess with that. Okay, I'm going to leave the cardigan on. A daily opt-in audit that is for your top pages. So you want to make sure that the pages you care about the most, you're tracking regularly. If you go onto your analytics platform and get hold of a list of your most trafficked pages, you can run an audit specifically on those ones because you're going to get the highest return on investment if you use whatever scanning resources you have on your most trafficked pages. I've also got on here a weekly or monthly audit, opted in as well, across all pages, depending on the size of your website. So generally, the more regular, the better, but obviously people have different website sizes and you might be working with different amounts of pages in your account. But at a minimum, a monthly one, probably recommend weekly. Reason being that if a page is experiencing missing or broken tags, you might not see them in your most visited pages report because that's only a small subsection of your whole website. You want to make sure your whole website is working as you would expect as well. And then we also have here a weekly or monthly opted out audit. So you want to make sure that you are adhering to whatever privacy regulations you work with. So making sure you are GDPR compliant or CCPA, whatever area you're looking at. Then I have a bonus one here for you. I'm aware that most people in the room are dealing with EMEA websites. However, there are some big companies, and I'm sure some of you are also managing websites based in the States as well. So for those of you that are monitoring some US websites too, an audit with global privacy control signal enabled, because respecting GPC and other opt-out signals is now required in multiple US states. So I'll show you how to do that one as well. Super easy to set up. If you're monitoring US sites, this is another one that I recommend. All right, so what we're going to do, we are going to take a look at setting up an audit. So we've just looked at the top 4 things you should do. Now let's take a look how you would actually set one up. So I'm going to come over here. I actually can't see this as well as I thought, but I think it says create new. Yep. We are going to create a new audit, click on web audit over here, And just to give you a quick overview horizontally of some of these tabs up here, you've got test scenario, where we're just going to put a few details in, a few basic ones. We're going to tell the audit where to start on, really can't read this well, URL sources. Standards is around expectations, what we're expecting to see. Pre-audit actions is what happens before the audit runs, and then on-page actions is any actions that occur after the page has loaded. So I can show you the bare minimum that you need to do to set up an audit is so easy. You give it a name, just going to call it test for now. You want to tell it where you're coming from. So where are the majority of users coming from for your audit? So say I were to type in England, we can select here. We could also come to URL sources. You need to give it a starting URL as one of the few things you need to do, and tell it how many pages you want it to scan. So realistically, you could probably set it up with, yes?
I want to help you with Zoom emojis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That's better. Thank you, Yuri. So hopefully you can see this too. This is the bare minimum that you need to set one up. But I would recommend looking at some of the other things you can edit as well. So let me show you what we've got in here. I'm going to pick out a few things that are quite useful. So here's a good one. Any specific tags or tag categories that should be blocked. So that hard-coded audit I mentioned before, this is where you would use this. You can say, ObservePoint, I want you to block a specific tag. So here, you could block your tag management system, and then you could see all the other tags firing outside of that tag. This also might come in handy. Say you have a user that says to you, I'm a bit suspicious of this tag. I think it's causing some areas to play up. You can prove them right or wrong. You can say, let's run a test where you've got everything running as normal, and you can run another one with that tag specifically blocked, and then you can compare the results. We've also got file substitution. So this here, you're able to swap the network requests around. So say you want to test some dev tags but on a live environment, you could swap out the network requests here by using file substitutions. The GPC signal, that one I mentioned before, to do one of those audits, you literally just need to toggle this thing on like that, and it's going to run it for you. We've also got a place to put a webhook. So if you want an automated way to get the data out of ObservePoint and into a third-party platform, that is where you would use it right here. So over here, the URL sources, key bit of information here, the starting URL, so where you want the audit to start. This is where, if you want to run an audit specifically for a bunch of pages, you would list out those pages in that area here, and you would select audit starting URLs only, and that would mean when it runs, it's only going to audit these URLs. Which other ones do I want to point out to you? Oh, down here, this is how frequently you want the audit to run. So you want to have it running in the background. You set it up here. We've got a whole host of options that you can choose from. So with standards, the power of ObservePoint is it can automatically and proactively alert you to when your data is not what you would expect it to be. Andrew is going to be running a session on standards I said Drew before, sorry. Andrew is running a session on standards and automation after this one, so I'm not going to go into the details of creating them, but just to point out that alerts, rules, and consent categories are what are going to allow you to say, I'm expecting to see a certain thing. Let me know if what I'm expecting isn't the case. And these are going to take away the manual effort, which is really important. So pre-audit actions, this is where we're going to specify any actions that are going to happen before the audit starts visiting pages. So here you can simulate how a user is going to interact with the consent banner, so if they're going to accept or reject all cookies, or if you want to run an audit, say with a user who's logged in, this is where you would do it. On-page actions, this is where actions are going to be executed after pages have loaded. So this is where you can make use of our custom tag. Now, the ObservePoint custom tag simply is a bit of JavaScript that's executed after the page loads. It helps you access data that's normally a bit harder to get to. It shows up as a virtual tag in our reports. So if you can find it in the dev console, then it's able to be captured in the ObservePoint tag. So some examples of ways you could use it. We do actually have some example templates in our help docs for inspiration, but some examples might be, is my privacy policy link across all pages? I want to capture some SEO data. I want to test if there are broken images on my pages. Or I want to search for keywords. So like that one I mentioned earlier, the customer who changed the name of the subsidiary, and he wanted to check that if a certain word was across a bunch of pages, this is how you would do it. So I'm going to move back to here. Getting insights from reports. We have a nice QR code here that the marketing team have added in. So if anyone wants to just take a picture, I will send out the pack afterwards, but if anyone wants to take a little snap of the QR code, it's a nice link to a document for insights you can get from reports, but I am going to talk through some of those now. I'll let anyone do a little QR code thing before I change it. Okay. Right, gonna move in here. Just checking on time. I think I'm slower than I had anticipated because I did forget to start my stopwatch, but I will try and speed up a little bit. Sorry, everyone. Let's take a look at audit reports. So, here's one I made earlier. And as a beginner, the overview might be a nice one to look at. So, across here, we've got a few key areas depending on what's relevant to different teams. So we've got an overview of some key metrics. We've got some metrics that might be more interesting to analytics people or to privacy people, and you can have a scroll through and see what's in here. But for me personally, if I were viewing the results of an audit, I think the page you're going to get the most beneficial information is this one here, this alerts tab. So in this alerts report, as I said before, this is really important because the power of ObservePoint is it can automatically and proactively alert you to when your data is not where you would expect it to be. A few good ones we've got on here. You can do an alert for, do we have any 404 pages? Is a CMP banner missing? Do we have duplicate GA4 tags? So are we going to have unnecessary inflated data? Is largest contentful paint over a certain number? We're missing the privacy policy link from certain pages. That landing page one I mentioned are query parameters removed after a redirect. And do we have any unapproved cookies? So the way that I would read this report is, let's see. Over here you can see anyone who is subscribed to these alerts. And over here you're going to see either green or red. Red means it's gone off, and you can click into it to see whereabouts in the report that information is showing you. One other thing I should mention is we have a lot of recommended alerts in your account, which you're able to just add wherever you like, but you can also create your own ones. So if there's a bit of information that is important to you, you can very easily create it based off the reports that we have. The recommended ones we do have, if you click into them, they have a nice little message explaining what this one actually does. So it just makes it a bit more comprehensive and easy to understand. But what I would do, I would come in this report, I would see this one's red, and I would just click into it to take a look where that is coming from. Now, in general, with ObservePoint, how it works is whatever you click into, you can drill down into that information. So if I click on this red bit here, this is going to drill down into unapproved cookies. So here I can see any that is shown as unapproved. Now, a bit of context for this report. This report is an opted-in report, so a user has given consent. So in this scenario, unapproved means we have given ObservePoint a few lists of cookies saying here are the cookies we expect to see. Anything that comes up outside of it in an opted-in audit just means here are cookies you didn't know you had. Not necessarily anything bad, but it's opted in, and here are some you didn't know existed. If you were to do this audit for an opted out one, it would be slightly different. You would say a user has declined consent, and we want to make sure really the strictly necessary cookies are showing up. Maybe slightly different if you're using Google Consent Mode, but for the most part, you want strictly necessary, and you'd want to be alerted if anything shows up outside of that list. So what I would do, I'd come down, I'd take a look, let's click into this one just to show you the drilling down. So as you click into something, what then happens is you get a list of URLs at the bottom that match that filter. So let's take a look at one, and I'm going to show you what comes up at a page level view. So here, what you can see, because it's filtered by a particular cookie, this LinkedIn one, it's filtered by that cookie on this page, but if you were to exit out, you'd get a whole list here. So let me just show you, if I click into it, this is our cookie initiators feature, that one I mentioned before. Again, no other company can show you how cookies are set on your pages. This is patent pending technology that ObservePoint has. What you can see this one in particular, it was added on page load, and it was added by LinkedIn Ads lead sync. So you can see the network request that added it, and you can do a bit of investigating. I can actually click into this network request too to get a bit more information on the request log, and I can also see any other cookies that network request has initiated. So a few other things you can see at a page level. I think I do need to start hurrying up. We've got page information, so a screenshot of what it looks like. All the tags coming through at this particular page. You can also see the variables and values within those variables. Cookies we've seen. Accessibility, this is a really great one. This is where you can see over here, you can filter by the different versions and levels, or if it's critical and serious. And let's click into a critical one. So here, buttons must have discernible text. You click into it, it's going to show you exactly where on the page this issue is, and then it's going to give you ideas for solutions of how to fix it. So here it's saying, fix one of the following, and this issue will be solved. Console log, just as normal as you would see in your dev tools, and then tag initiators is quite a nice tag hierarchy view. So the one we saw before, we saw this LinkedIn Ads lead sync. You can see actually where it's coming from, and you can do some investigating to where things come from and what they kick off. And then we've also got a little rules page here where you're able to see if a certain rule has failed or passed on a particular page. If it's failed, it will tell you why. So you can see here, expected, but that was the actual value. So let me come out of here. As you can see, lots of reports. We don't have time to go through them now, but those are a couple of good ones. Another one I would say, the tag inventory is a good one to look at, where you can get a view, all the tags coming through on your website, the percentage of pages that each tag is on. You can scroll down to see if there are a small percentage of pages missing certain tags, or the ones at the bottom might be digital residue, where they're not on the majority of pages, but you have a few rogue ones and you might want to find out what they're doing there. This is a good report. However, I would say the best way to use it would be making use of rules, which you will have a session on, because that allows you to do it automatically, but this is still a good one. The rules report, just to show you, is tag and variable rules here. This is where you would view the results. So if you scroll down, you can see here are the rules you've got set up. It's passed on these pages, and these ones it's failed on, and it's going to tell you why it's failed, so you can do some more investigating. So let's come out of here. Just a quick reminder, best practice is to have recurring audits. You want to have them going in the background. It's great in everything to do ad hoc projects and, as and when you need things, but the most benefit you're going to get out of ObservePoint is having these audits running in the background, so you can forget about them and just get notified when it's things that you really care about aren't as you wanted them to be. And now we are going to move on to our second section, which is shorter, don't worry. This is on journeys. So, the mighty conversion event. What happens here? Back to our homepage. We're going to just take a look at a really important conversion funnel for us. So for us, it's really important that a user comes in here, they click on Get a Demo, they scroll down, fill out their information, and then they press Get Started. Now, if this was your website, if this was a key conversion funnel for you, what kind of thing would you expect to happen as someone is pressing that Get Started button? Yes, conversion tags. We want some kind of event to happen, a tag to fire, some form of data capture with a tag involved. If we were to lose tracking, or tags that were meant to fire don't, we're going to end up losing valuable insights, and we don't want that to happen. So, this brings us on to what is a journey. Now, a journey simulates the steps that a user would take on your website to accomplish a key process. Examples might be the checkout process, getting an account, getting a demo, and what it's going to do is going to show us all the tags and cookies that are coming through at each one of those steps. So, for instance, as a user clicks on something, as a user enters information, what tags and what cookies are coming through at each of those points. With audits, they're limited to testing what happens on page load. Journeys also do page load, but they also test everything else. So why monitor journeys? Key conversion metrics are the most important part of a website, and they must be tested to ensure we don't lose valuable insights. We use journeys to test tags that fire as a result from key conversion events. You can get notified if a vital part of your site is broken in just minutes, and we can avoid clunky, broken customer experiences that tarnish your brand. We're going to take a look at some journey use cases. Please shout if I need to really hurry up.
Great.
So a few journey use cases we've got. Again, split into those same areas we had before. On the left privacy side, you can get a complete cookie inventory. Now, as we mentioned before, audits are for page load, so you are getting cookies from page load. With a journey, you're getting cookie set from all the other things too, so you can use it to complete your cookie inventory. We can also validate a range of tags firing on key events, especially analytics tags. But also, any other types are important, so another common one might be retargeting tags, for instance. We have also got cross-domain cookie ID tracking, so more of an advanced use case, but this is making sure you know it's the same person if they've moved between domains, for instance. We've got conversion attribution collection. So say a journey starts with a UTM parameter, you would check the conversion point at the end still has tracking for those parameters. We've also got web functionality, and then also PII tag mishandling. So with this one, if you want to determine actual violations of PII passed into forms, you'd be able to get ObservePoint to simulate filling out a form with particular values, and then you could use a PII detection rule to see if any tags collected anything on that information that you've given it, and a whole host of other things too. But let's take a look at where to start. So, as before, just shared a bunch of use cases with you, but here is where I would recommend starting with journeys, whether you're a complete beginner or if you just haven't used journeys that much. I would start off by saying, have a think about your website. Have a think about all the conversion funnels on your site and the most critical events as far as data collection is concerned, and have a journey for each of these. With these ones, I would run them at least daily. Now, with journeys, you're able to run these every 15 minutes if you want to. That might be necessary for some of them if it's a really key process that you can't go without knowing if it's broken for 15 minutes, great. I wouldn't use things that are less regular than daily though. Absolute minimum for a really important key conversion process, run it daily. You want to catch issues before a high volume of visitors are going to be impacted. When you're prioritizing them, I would also align with your KPIs. And I would create a rule for key conversion events and apply them to journeys. So that key checkout event, you want to make sure you've got a key variable being tested. So say if you're using GA4, making sure you've got event name coming through as it should, or in Adobe Analytics, checking your events variable in there. I'm going to take a look at what a report looks like too. So I've got one set up earlier. So this is what a journey report looks like. You will notice you have got a few tabs across here. You've got the action details first, tags showing you all the tags coming through. variables for more details within those tags, cookies coming through at that particular step, and then rules. You've got screenshots here, so if I open this up, this shows you a snap of what is happening at each step. Now, with a journey, you always start on a nav2, so you have to tell it where you're starting. And if I just scroll through quickly, you're going to see a title at the top of each of these, so you can say, this one's click get a demo, input your first name, enter the names. If you scroll down, you can see what's happened. You can see we've got a name being entered here. So in terms of what we can see on these tabs, let's take a look at an event here. So this click event, as you click on get a demo. The action details just shows you what type of event it is, so what you have instructed ObservePoint to do. Tag presence is going to show you all the tags that fire as someone makes that click. It's also going to show you the current run versus the previous run. So you can even toggle on only show changes to let you know if there is some kind of discrepancy between the current and the last run. You can look at the variable summary to see all the variables and values within these tags you found, again, at each step. So here we can see the same as before. You can see the different runs, the most recent one versus the one before, and the variables and what you can find inside them. Cookies, you can see all the cookies, again, at this step as you press click a demo. And as before, you can take a look at the initiators. So same view as earlier, you can click into it, you can see where that cookie is coming from. So over here you can see this has been initiated by this particular network request. And then, similar to the page view on audits, you can see rules. This one has a pass rule, so this is one you set up here, but it will go red if it's got a rule attached and it's failed. So in general with journeys, if you see orange, orange means the journey has broken, so it might have used the wrong selector or just something isn't working. Green is everything is great. Red is the journey is working fine, but you've applied a rule and that rule has failed on a particular step where you can see the red. Let's take a look. So that is a brief overview of what you can see. I should have said this in audits as well, but I forgot. You can export a lot of this information just by going to the exports or clicking on certain drill dots. But with audits, you're able to export particular bits in the different areas too. So that is the overview of what a journey report looks like. The next bit is the setup, which I'm not going to cover this in great detail because you do have another session. I'm just going to show you very quickly what it looks like. So for each step, it's going to be an action. As I said before, the first one is always a nav2 step, so you know where you're going. But the other ones, you can choose from a whole host of actions. You can do a click, you can input information, you can check or uncheck a box, you can switch to iframe, you can do JavaScript. So if you're pretty confident with JavaScript, you can just write your own JavaScript and make it do whatever you like, and it might be nice because you can test it in the dev tools as well. But this is what it looks like. You can do pretty simple things as well, like so long as you find the selector or the ID that you're using, that's all you really need to make it work. But as I said, you are going to have a session on this, so I'm not going to go too much into it. What I am going to go into, because I am aware this is the foundation session, whilst journeys I'm sure you're able to build them, make use of our support team. They are fantastic. If you are just starting out with journeys, you've got a few conversion funnels that you do not currently have a journey for, ask our support team to help build you one, because they're doing this all the time and they will be able to get you up and going so much faster. I'm going to show you how to do that. On the left-hand side here, if you come to support, we can see web journey support request. All you need to do is download the Excel file, which I've just got ready open. Really easy to fill out. You just specify at each step what you want to happen. So the first one is nav2 here. Then if there are any details you want to share, so log in, here's the username, here's the password, click on this button, do this, do that. You fill out this form and you specify how many journeys you've added on that form, because you can do multiple ones. And you upload it. You just upload it over here. Another thing to point out that's really useful, you're also able to upload a video for the support team. So you can say, just do a screen recording, say, here's my website, we're going to start here, click here, do this, do that, and they're going to find it a lot easier to set up for you. And then all you do is submit, and you're going to have a few really key conversion events set up ready to go in your account. Let's see. One other thing to point out with journeys, when you've got your, let me just open it here. Here we go. With a journey, I would pick your most important journey. We have a feature that is grossly underused. This one here. You are able to monitor a journey. What I mean by this is you pick the journey that is most important to you. You can toggle on this over here, and this means the support team is going to keep a really close eye on it, and if it does break, they're able to use one of your fixed journey requests to actually fix it for you, so you don't even need to worry about it. Highly recommend that, and again, pick your most critical one and use it for that one. So, let's see. That's it for journeys. Couple of things I want to share with you. We have a couple of helpful links. I've got the QR codes on here. Again, you will be able to get this pack, but if anyone wants to take a picture of the QR codes, two things. We've got the ObservePoint Academy. This is really, really great. It probably takes 4 to 6 hours depending on the path that you choose. If you're a beginner, highly recommend using this. It's a great way to get into the tool, get practicing, and pick up some key tips. And then you'll have loads of questions that you can ask your CSM off the back of it. We also have our help docs over here. So much information is in these help docs. You can just start typing a keyword to find the relevant article. Another thing I should point out is the AI in the tool. So if we just come on to here, this little bit here, someone mentioned it earlier. If you come to messages, you can test the AI here. You can test the AI here. So have a go. Either it will give you a response you're satisfied with, or you'll be able to ask a member of the team instead. Okay. So for me, that is it. I don't think we're going to have time for questions because I know we've gone over. But hopefully, you're going to have come away from this session with a better understanding of the why behind audits and journeys, and have some ideas of what to set up next. You come find me if you have any questions afterwards, or any of the other ObservePoint team, but I think I'm right saying there's no time for questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I think we're great.
That's it.